seen that in the last 1 month of time, they've been able to raise a good amount. With your permission, can I disclose the amount? Around 32 million dollars in a month's time. That is what Kasha has reached. So we'll try to understand in terms of his background and what motivated him to get into the blockchain, and probably share a couple of $1 million ideas with you so that you go back and create those $1 million, and of course with me as well, Kumar.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kumar, before we get into this, maybe it's a good idea to give you a little bit of a background about yourself so that people can understand where you come from, what's your background from a family education perspective.
So, yeah, I think this is the first time someone asked me from the family background side. So I come from Bihar. It's from a city called Nalanda. I don't know how many people have heard. There's an old university called Nalanda University. Yeah. So I born in a family. My father was a farmer, so we were in a farming business. From profession, I studied computer science, like every other engineer in the country, in 2008, and so really don't know what to do. So you have a choice that you become an engineer and then you have to anyway figure it out what to do. So just following the Indian tradition, I became an engineer, and I joined Wipro Technology, which was my first company, and luckily I was doing great, and I moved to Italy, and I started working as a navigation engineer for Ferrari, and that's where I explored first the Bitcoin in 2013, and I quit my job. But I didn't quit my job because of Bitcoin, for a full disclosure. It's good for the motivation, but I quit my job because I realized that I'm not made for a service company or to work for someone. So there was something which was missing in the job, even it was a highly paid job. It's a lavish life you can have, especially one in Ferrari. Not many engineers, so. And I enrolled into, and what happened interesting that I took the risk, and within the next week, Italian government gave me a state scholarship for MBA. So I said, okay, that's again like an Indian story, you know, you do engineering and you do an MBA. So it looks like the world is just going behind you to just push you to the same Indian thing. So I say, okay, let's do the MBA. But now because doing an engineering from India, MBA was like eating halwa, correct? So I say, guys, that's something is really like, what, you have to pass 12 subjects? Give me a night and take an exam tomorrow morning, if it's about passing. So I started traveling entire Europe. And in Amsterdam, first time, I get associated with the Bitcoin. So there were two guys in the bar and they were trading Bitcoin at local Bitcoin. So I just jumped in between, not like after a while when the seller already took his money and left the bar. I go to the buyer and I asked him curiously, what was this thing? And he told me about this Bitcoin. And we were talking like a couple of $100 that time, maybe $180, $190. So he explained me something. Luckily that time in the Bitcoin industry was obviously very, very small. So it was not very big, and you find only two kind of people. One, either they are selling drugs, that time in 2013, or someone who is really into technology and believe in this like deeply, or frustrated from a US economy or something past which he had. So most of these kind of people I always used to meet, and because I was engineer, and I was like, and when I came into the industry, I started knowing about the financial crisis of US and all those things which I was unaware of. And I was saying, like, I was in a comfortable position and the world has so many massive problems in the financial industry. And that's all was the rise of the Bitcoin. So I asked the guy from where it all started, and he gave me the reference of that there is some guy, a Japanese guy, whatever is called. So I went to the home and I started Googling and I found this white paper. But I didn't read that white paper and I forget what happened in the Amsterdam. So what happened in the Amsterdam? Remained in the Amsterdam. And I came back. Okay. And then after that, the Cyprus crisis during that time happened and the Bitcoin again skyrocketed. And everyone in the media was start talking about that in 2013. Yeah. So again I looked into this, that what is this? And that's the first time I say, okay, I think now I should buy it. And but I bought that a few days ago, so I had that. But then I went to look the price, and price was like $1,100. And I said, no, maybe not a good idea. So let me do the engineering right now. Hold the speculation. Don't buy it. So I started reading the Bitcoin white paper and started experimenting. And that's where in 2014 I built the first company called Oxesis, which is now Oxesis Group. And that's primarily for the research and development into the blockchain industry. We got some good project. We were onboarded by PwC UK. We delivered a POC for Bank of England, Visa. Today we have out of top 500 Fortune company, maybe top 20 Fortune companies we are working with. So Visa or Bank of England or state governments of India, they are some big names. And then we have GE and there's... So that's how the Oxesis started and all this process kicked off. So that's pretty much my background. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So you realize that the world is not as rosy as inside a Ferrari cabin, right?
Oh, it was very difficult. Yeah.
Okay, so you spoke about in terms of it probably took about a year and a half for you to venture into the Bitcoin world on your own in terms of investing. Am I right in terms of the first time that you came to know about Bitcoin was about a year and a half before you took a plunge in that particular world?
I think it took me like 12 months because so it was the time of realization. So you are teaching yourself because there are not many people in the industry, correct? So what you have to do, you have to first teach yourself before going out and speaking about this. So it took me like 11 months. And then I realized that I think I'm not just enough. If we really want to make something, we need a team. And that's like Gaurav, I think in a bit mentioned about the team thing. So you need a team to do that. You know? And that's where I hire people from Wipro, TCS and say, guys, I think there is something new coming and you guys should work on this. So that's how it all is. And that's where I took my first risk of leaving the comfort zone, paying people and saying that something can be made out of it.
Sure, got that. So in terms of the path that you took is not majorly different from the path that most of the people take in, especially with the engineering background. In terms of, you got people together, then you have developed a development company in terms of the blockchain development company, and then you were offering services to the other people, have seen early signs of success and stuff like that. So everything was going well. But what motivated you to build a consumer-oriented organization like Kasha? Talk to us a little bit about Kasha.
So Kasha was not my first consumer-based application, and so when I was in Italy, I created an insurance brokerage company called Darwin Insurance. It was backed by AIG, and then later, like in 2016, I sold that company to AZ Right. It's one of the oldest brokerage firm in Italy. So that was first consumer application, and there was a fun making consumer application. When you hear stories, you talk with people. So it was a complete different experience than building an enterprise company where you're talking with the corporate clients. So there was so if you see also my career graph and how people recognize me, it's not because what I did in Oxesis and giving services to the big companies. It's mostly because of Kasha, which all triggered this up. So that's I'll say, like today, like in Kasha, we hear amazing stories coming out of the people. Like if I share like people investing or something, the ambition, the passion, the community which we have. So that's something which motivates a lot.
Yeah, I can ascribe to that. Recently, last week I was doing a panel discussion and Kumar happened to be one of the members on my panel, and then I put it on Twitter. It got retweeted by 700 times. I had never had that kind of a retweet, and I felt, hey, have I become a celebrity? Then I went and saw there was, oh shucks, this got retweeted because Kumar's name was written and not because of my name. So I can understand in terms of how active your community is and how supportive your community is about that. And if I recall correctly, with regards to your insurance, you had a unique element to that, right? Was it a peer-to-peer insurance?
Yeah, so it was first Italian peer-to-peer insurance company. So it was again a kind of social application. But for high-risk coverage, we had AIG backing up. And that was also one of the first applications where we implemented smart contract. So it was so the first product was travel insurance where we implemented a smart contract. And what we did, we say, okay, now you have this great technology and everything. Let's see how it can really work in science. So we picked the travel insurance where it's the data oracles were very easy to understand. If a flight got delayed, you understand flight got delayed. Google can give you this data that if a flight is delayed. So how about having a smart contract based application which read this data, and based on this it just execute the process. If you haven't onboarded or your flight is missed, just pay that customer directly. So it was a very small application, like very focused one, and that was also my first exit. Yeah.
So if I were you, I would have gone to the beach with that money, right? So what motivated you to do Kasha? Is it because of, if I may use the word, is it because of the lure to make more money? Or is it because of the bug which is there in the entrepreneur's mind, that Kida, is it because of that particular bug?
So obviously money is one of the factors. That's I will not deny that. But I think money is not the only factor, because I also like few months ago, till 3 months ago, I was in a board of one of the largest company in the world. So you know I can. But so just to give it, it's one of the largest gold mining companies. So and I used to take a hefty salary. So I think that kind of salary it takes, even if you are an entrepreneur, maybe you can make maybe in a year, or if you're entrepreneur, if your startup is really funded well, like Kasha, maybe in that case. Otherwise, it's almost impossible to make that kind of money. So money was not, but I resigned that because of Kasha. Once we see that we have a great community who is backing me up, and it's more about, once you are an entrepreneur, you're not just alone. You are led by, and especially in a blockchain industry, when you create an ICO or you do a token sale, you're not alone anymore. You have thousands and thousands of people believing on you. And now their stories becomes your story, correct? And that's what it creates a story. Because that's what brings thousands of people together under one mission and vision. And that's the only thing which binds it. There is the rest, everything. There is no money, or there is no fancy clothes, or that doesn't matter. That one idea which is common among all of us binds this together. So, and that's what something gives more kick than making money. And money and everything follows up. That's
yeah, absolutely. But one thing I still didn't get from you is in terms of when you promoted Kasha, you were based out of that famous accelerator in London, level 39?
Yeah,
level 39. Only few companies get an opportunity to make it to that particular accelerator. By virtue of being in level 39 in heart of London, you would have networked with a lot more venture capitalists and a lot more private equity investors. And I know, having gone through the Kasha ICO and the number of minutes you slept in a day, I can say it's a very difficult proposition to raise money through ICOs. When you had easy access to private equity investors and the venture capitalists, why did you say no to them, or the money that was coming from VC and the PE avenue, and why only ICO?
So two reasons. First, because I already had a community which was ready to support me, so I was not starting from zero. Correct? Because Kasha is one of the top 100 most influential company in the world now in the blockchain space by Rise. Recently, we became like 12, I think top 12. We are ranking in top 100. So we are not very far from big companies like Ripple or Ethereum network in itself. But what it means is obviously building that community. And that community will never come if I have took those money, VC's money. I'll forget about taking VC's money. I could have funded by myself, 5 or 10 million. Right. I could have done that myself. But giving that money was, as I said, that money was not just the point. The point was to building that community and creating that first 9,000 or 10,000 people who believe in your idea, so that they can take your idea and exponentially grow. And you have seen like people like, exactly. The last example, I didn't expect that in India, but from India we had a good, so yeah.
Absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about your experience with ICOs in terms of, I know this is a very evolving field. The biggest problem in ICOs, as I understand, when you want to do an ICO at that level of capital raise, you need to have good support from a regulation perspective, or at least people who understand regulations. I don't think even the lawyers understand the concept of ICOs. So what were the challenges that you faced with respect to your ICOs? I mean, with respect to raising money through your ICO?
From regulation side, there was not a big challenge, because once, if you are clear what you are doing, and so regulation never big. I think maybe it's me. Like, I never feel that regulation was always a big hindrance. It could be because of connection of working with the banks or working with Bank of England, especially in Europe. So in my advisory board, you have seen. So we have European bank governor in our board. So I think we are in a good position when it comes to the regulation. We have John.
Sorry for the interruption. Is it because you have picked up a place where the regulations were amenable to ICOs, or is it generally the regulatory climate? If you speak to anybody in this room, they will tell how hard is the regulatory climate in India is. Of course, it is changing, but it has not still got to the level where it should have been.
So I cannot comment in India because I never take but to what I say that yes, regulations are there to protect people, and I believe in that. And having said so, if you are doing something which not with the purpose to harm people, I think you will get fair amount of support. Now what stops is that how you are spoon feeding regulation. Don't expect regulation is going to eat the meal by itself. You have to spoon feed them, correct? And I think it's on the entrepreneurs how good you are in spoon feeding. So from the regulation perspective, we choose in Estonia. We had a good control with the good connections with the ministry or people in the board. So and the taxes were zero. So that's the whole point. So even if the regulations say, okay, we declare entire ICO not as a capital raise, because what we sold is the token, which gives you access to move money in the Kasha network, correct? So Kasha is a financial network which allows you to move money in 210 countries without exposing you with the cryptocurrency. So we don't use Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. We use traditional FX. But what we do, we write all the transactions on the blockchain, and then there is a token which allows you to move this money. So, which made regulators very comfortable, because we are not saying to create our own coin. There is a coin, but that's only used to power the transactions. But the real settlements always happen in USD and INR. So if you are a German customer and you want to send money to anyone in the room, it takes 20 minutes, which is faster than even the Bitcoin network, and you receive money in your bank account, which you can walk out any second and withdraw from the ATM. So, and it all happens in less than 20 minutes. So that's what I will say, the regulatory part is become easier if you give them step by step. Now, because this is a utility token, there may be that tomorrow regulation can come and say, okay, so what you did was you sold the subscription of your network in advance. Which means it's a revenue and you have to pay taxes on that, correct? Okay, we are happy to pay taxes. How much? 0%. Fine.
Understood. So in terms of with regards to ICO, today everybody is reporting in media that you had raised about 32 million, and you were only the company which had adhered to the KYC norms. Because of those KYC norms, you had to return a little bit component of that. So all good things are getting reported. Obviously the media picks up only the